Hello and welcome to another Brawl video. Today we're checking out this blue, red and green or Temur colored dragon ramp deck featuring Ureni of the Unwritten as our commander, a 7 mana 7/7 dragon with flying and trample, and whenever Ureni enters or attacks, we get to look at the top 8 cards of our library, putting a dragon creature card from among them straight onto the battlefield. So an incredibly powerful effect in our dragon deck, especially if we can give Ureni haste somehow, so it can enter, put a dragon in play, and then once again attack, putting another dragon onto the battlefield for free. So that's what we're trying to set up. Taking a look at our deck breakdown, of course we will need some mana acceleration to get to 7 mana in the first place, so plenty of ramp cards, as well as some ways to discount our dragon spells, which can also be effective. Then we've got multiple enchantments and artifacts that can help give Ureni haste, and in our mana base, Arena of Glory is another way to do that. And then of course we've got our dragons, since we want to be able to find a dragon in the top 8 cards of our library whenever we trigger our Ureni. So plenty of dragons to go around. A lot of them have some very powerful effects that can also help interact with the opponent, since we don't have a lot of room for interaction. If we take a look at our miscellaneous section, just a couple burn spells that also synergize with dragons, and then Roaming Throne is also very nice if we can play it alongside Ureni, as we'll get to trigger the ability twice. So that's our deck in a nutshell. Now for the deep dive, starting with our mana acceleration, we've got a few Mox in here with Chrome Mox, and then Mox Jasper does require a dragon to be already in play. Then some 1 mana accelerants like Birds of Paradise, Delighted Halfling, Elvish Mystic, and Eleanor Elves. We've got the new Sarkhan making a treasure when it enters, assuming we have a dragon in play or in hand. Then Explore, Growth Spiral, and Uro, all ways of drawing a card while putting an extra land in play. Fanatic of Aronas can occasionally make 4 mana. There's a Lotus Cobra, which is great with all these effects, putting extra lands in play, as well as very good with all our fetch lands, making mana with Landfall. Rampant Growth can put an extra land in play. At 3 mana, a slightly bigger version is Cultivate, which also finds a land to put in hand. The Scale to Nurture is a dragon and can also gain life when casting our dragon spells. The Signet can immediately make a mana. And then we've got some more 3 mana artifacts with a Dragon's Horde, which can draw cards. We've got Globe giving us additional +1 counters on dragons entering. And then the Banner will pump up all our dragons that are already in play. And then we also have the 4 mana Dragonstorm, finding 2 basics, can maybe pick it back up when playing a dragon, so we can do it all over again. And then we've got a few ways to discount our dragon spells, with a Dragon Lord's Servant at 2 mana, the Shaman at 3 mana, discounts by 2, as well as the Urza's Incubator. Now this can be a double-edged sword since it also affects the opponent's dragons, but usually it's worth it. And then we've got Sarkhan Fireblood, which can make 2 mana to cast our dragon spells or maybe help improve our hand. And Sarkhan Soul of Flame discounts by 1, but can also turn into a dragon. Also very powerful if we have an effect that maybe applies to dragons hitting the opponent, as we'll get to trigger it right away. Then we've got our haste enablers with the red orb, and then some 3 mana enchantments. Rising of the Day also pumping up our legendaries. Frostcliff Siege can give all our creatures 1 extra power, trample, and haste. Rhythm of the Wild can choose for riots, giving us haste or an extra +1 counter, also makes our creatures uncounterable. And then a Temur Ascendancy can also occasionally draw us extra cards. And then we've got our dragons, including a 2 mana Scale Singer, which can help play dragons off the top of the deck. We've got some 4 mana dragons here with a Hellkite, disrupting the opponent's mana. Opportunistic Dragon can maybe steal an opposing human or artifact. Thunderbreak Regent punishes the opponent for targeting our dragons. Desert Doom can draw extra cards. We've got Dracosaur, which can also provide card advantage if it survives until our upkeep. Got Dragonhawk, which can trigger as it enters, exiling extra cards, dealing damage, or we can play those cards from exile. Glorybringer can exert to deal 4 damage to a non-dragon creature. Goldspan Dragon will make treasures when attacking or being targeted, and those treasures now make 2 mana. There's Terror of the Peaks, which can also deal a lot of damage when we simply play our creatures. It's also very synergistic with Ureni putting extra creatures on the battlefield. There's Twin Flame Tyrant, doubling our damage output. Bloomvine Regent, more of a ramp card, as we can use the Omen for 3 mana, but it's also 5 mana dragon that can gain extra life. And then at 6 mana, there's the River Regent, can also draw with it, but usually we want to cast the 6 mana dragon to bounce 2 opposing permanents back. The Ancient Copper Dragon can also give us a huge mana boost if we manage to connect with it. Lathless spawns extra dragon tokens whenever we play a dragon. Then a Mirim can also be played as commander in this archetype, incredibly powerful, doubling all our dragons, including our legendaries. Then the Serpent we want to use as interaction early, bouncing an opposing creature back, but it's still a decent hit off Ureni. Balefire Dragon, especially with haste, can be devastating, wiping the opponent's board if it connects. Terror of Mount Velos, giving our creatures double strike when it enters. There's Dracoseth, which can also remove the opponent's entire board if it gets a chance to attack. Same with Dragonlord Atarka when it enters, dealing 5 to opposing creatures and planeswalkers. The Silver Dragon can draw extra cards if it connects. Then there's the other Ureni, which can deal damage scaling with the number of lands we control. And then Earthquake Dragon we can often cast on the cheap if we already have some dragons in play. And then our interaction includes a few burn spells like Lightning Bolt. Dragon's Fire can also scale with dragons we have in play or in hand. And Invasion of Tarkir can also maybe transform it into the Thundermaw, which also plays very well with additional dragons in play. And then Roaming Throne, also very nice with Ureni, as we can double the entered battlefield trigger or attack trigger, as well as any other dragons we have in play. And then the mana base, as we mentioned, has Arena of Glory, another way to give Ureni haste so we can attack with it right away. A few additional utility lands with Odawara and Boseiju. And then we've got some other utility lands that play well in a dragon deck. Cavern of Souls making our dragons uncounterable. Haven can get a dragon back out of the graveyard. And the Maelstrom can tutor one up. And then plenty of fetch lands to fix our colors. Can fetch up our Surveil lands in each color, as well as the shock lands. So the mana is usually not a concern. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the draw, facing Elspeth, mono-white tokens. So having flying dragons to maybe fly over ground creatures is useful. We've got a good start with Signet and Regent. Ideally we find more ways to give our creatures haste as well. Alright, Curse of Silence is gonna slow down Ureni. Although we found the other Ureni, which can also damage planeswalkers. Now Voice of Victory, not that we have any counter spells. So we get to play Signet. Next turn, keep on ramping. Banner's pretty decent too. At least the tokens from Voice of Victory aren't white. But we're still taking 4. So Regents get my last 2 forests. And then we can fetch. This doesn't prevent us from using abilities in their turn. So we can Surveil. And then next turn with 6 mana, probably just looking at Glorybringer, Exert on the Voice. Opponent sacking with Fountain Port to draw. So they were maybe missing the lane to play Elspeth. But they do now still have 2 mana up, so they could have removal for my dragon. Cultivate doesn't seem super needed. It's not bad. Let's see, next turn I have 6 mana, turn after 7. So I could maybe, instead of playing a Terror, cast Cultivate to get us closer to the other Ureni. But I think I would rather find a 6 mana dragon. So Glorybringer it is. Exert. And Voice down. Yeah, playing Terror into Elspeth is also not the best, since I can just use the -3 to destroy it. So there was an argument for keeping the Cultivate. Right, now Bloomvine is back. I guess I'm just casting it, or I can still play Terror of the Peaks. How likely am I to die next turn? Doesn't seem super likely. So then, yeah, they're more likely to minus Elspeth on Terror than they are on Bloomvine. But I'm fine with that. Next turn, Glorybringer gets to attack as well. Could also see a board wipe. No, Divine Visitation, so they get to make Angel tokens instead of soldiers now. At least they're still within range of a Glorybringer attack. Alright, so can play the other Ureni. And then, yeah, we get to do some damage here. Can Terror of Mount Velos do more for us, perhaps? If I cast it, I get to deal 5 with Terror, so I get to clear both Angels. Then 9 power double strike, that's 18, so it's not quite lethal. Let's see, if I play this, it is 10 damage from Terror of the Peaks. So that cannot be underestimated. So if I do go face, attack, exert, yeah, then they still survive. So Ureni's ability can finish off Elspeth. So then maybe I do go face. Exert a Glorybringer. Opponent's likely trading for Terror if I make this attack. But I think we're okay with that. Because then next turn Ureni is still presenting lethal. I could even give it double strike. Opportunistic Dragon stealing one of their artifacts could also come up. Instead of dealing 10 to them, I could have also just taken out an Angel. But if they have some board wipes in hands, I think getting the damage in seems worthwhile. Opponent replays Elspeth, but yeah, this has protection for white. So they can't block it with their white creatures, and they can't target it with a minus. So our opponent seems very much dead, plus could give Ureni double strike too here. So that's 20 damage. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, facing Lagrella, so kind of a banned enter the battlefield, maybe flicker deck. Our hand's got a little bit of mana acceleration, can play dragons off the top. Could use more ramp, admittedly. So let's take a mulligan. This seems better. Got Signet and Cultivate. This one makes blue for starters. But assuming Signet sticks around, that shouldn't be an issue. Guess I can take my draw step first. Find a Cobra. Yeah, if they can remove the Signet, I could be in trouble if I don't get a green source. But I do eventually need double red as well. Take 2. And there's Lagrella. Alright, so for now Cultivate. Can now get Forest and Mountain. Next turn have access to at least 5 mana. So could maybe set up our Rising alongside a Lotus Cobra. A Radagast. That one's pretty good. So I have 3 dragons, so I could deal 5 with the invasion, enough for taking out Radagast. Might be worth it. And then I could still develop my mana with Cobra plus birds. Still would like to get Rising in play before playing Ureni, but we'll see. Teleportation Circle to flicker a creature each turn. So they are getting good value out of their commander. Cobra down. Alrighty. So we found the land. Can cast my commander if I'd like. If I play Rising, I can still play a hasty Thunderbreak Regent. Sadly, it's not legendary, so not enough to transform the invasion at once. Still kind of like it, especially if they are keeping up removal. Still gonna attack the invasion, so it's maybe easier to transform in the future. But yeah, looks like our opponents had something up their sleeve, Ephemerate. Can now exile Thunderbreak, at least deals 3 on the way out. A rebound Ephemerate, flicker Splitskin. At least it lost its +1 counters. But yeah, now we're setting up for a hasty Ureni, plus whatever we find will also have haste. And Nature's Will. Don't see that in play very often. So they're basically wanting to untap all their lands. Yeah, I think I'm okay with sacrificing my Lotus Cobra. Although, if they then exile my Birds of Paradise after flickering Lagrella, I might be 1 mana short of playing Ureni. But then we still have a pretty good backup with Ancient Copper Dragon. Opponent just flickering the Splitskin. So Ureni has to be the play. Don't have enough mana for Incubator plus Ureni. I mean, honestly, I could still go for Ancient Copper Dragon and hope to hit it big. And if we do, Tower of the Peaks can also deal a bunch of damage. So I could go Urza's Incubator into Ancient Copper. I do have to deal damage to my opponents, so I guess never mind, they can chump with Ornithopter. So then we'll just cast Ureni. Can trample over the Ornithopter. And we found a Dracosaur, I want to say, over Hellkite. So this can go for the invasion, this can go face. And we found Dragonlord Atarka as well. Alright, so that can decimate their board. 3 here, and let's say 2 to the Ornithopter. So that was pretty brutal. So if they don't have a board wipe, they seem very dead. If they do have a board wipe, we can still recover with a hasty Copper Dragon. And that'll do it. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw, facing Gisa, the Hellraiser. So opponent's gonna try to commit some crimes. They likely have a bunch of those artifacts that exile cards from graveyards, so then Uro's unlikely to escape. That being said, I think this hand's still reasonable. Arena of Glory also very nice with Ureni. Chromox. Do I try and play turn 1 Nurture? I think would rather turn 2 Uro or Incubator. So for now we can just surveil. They're just more likely to have removal for my Nurture here. So get a Commercial District. And Sarkon's not bad. At least the treasure will stick around. And this is a dragon to enable it. So then I don't need to Chromox just yet. Although now it's maybe more reasonable to go Chromox, play the Nurture. But I'll just pass. Sarkon eats a Bitter Triumph. And Jadar's next. Alright, so this turn start with Uro and then see what's up. If I play Incubator, next turn I'll have 4 lands, so then I guess we could already cast Ureni thanks to the treasure. Whereas Uro does not guarantee that. Alright, I guess I'm down for Incubator then. Do I show them the arena? Maybe I don't. Just fetch a mountain. Play Incubator on Dragon. And then I'm not even gonna need the Chrome Mox, so I can hang on to it for now. We are taking 7, so Ureni does need to stabilize us. But we'll get 2 additional dragons, so somewhat likely to work out. Let's see. Because I can also give something else haste with the arena. But yeah, the nurture, I guess, doesn't really benefit from it. So we'll keep it simple. Cast Ureni with haste. Finding Lathless is a good one, since it'll make more dragons for us. Assuming there's a dragon in the top. However many. And then now, both of these are awesome. Wouldn't be able to pay the ward to take out Gisa, but if I can just take out their other creatures, that's maybe good enough. So 3 here, 1 here. Make a dragon token. Opponent takes 7. So yeah, we've swung the game around. No real need to play the Nurture in case they have a board wipe. Alright, Death Baron's not bad, giving Death Touch. Go for the throw to Tarka. Immediately make a pair of zombies. Their opponent is facing lethal in the air, so yeah, despite their best efforts, still wasn't good enough. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, facing off against Chandra, so mono-red control, sometimes also paired with land destruction. Our hand's got a promising start. Do I birds on 1? Yeah, that seems fine. They might remove it instantly. So then there's a bit of upside to maybe getting the tap land out of the way first. Because I could have also gone turn to Signet and then immediately play the birds afterwards. But yeah, now I can Signet plus Explore. So that worked out. Just get a mountain. And Ancient Copper Dragon seems reasonable. Finding a way to give my creatures haste is kind of the priority here. So maybe I still bottom it. Because yeah, Chandra can deal 5 damage when it enters. So having 5 toughness is a bit of a liability. If we can immediately attack with Ureni, it's a lot more threatening, as opposed to letting the opponent maybe untap with their Planeswalker to answer it. And it's not like I'm gonna need the mana from my Ancient Copper Dragon all that much. So expecting either birds or Signets to get removed here. But then we'll still be able to cast a Dragonstorm at the very least. It's gonna just be a thrill possibility. So Dragonstorm it is. If I play the Singer, I guess with the Mox I can still play the Dragonstorm afterwards. Now I could also go for a Regent off the top. But I think I'm happy just making more mana. So next turn I could cast Ureni. Yeah, this was an explosive start. Opponent still on 3 mana. Fumarole takes out Singer, and then 2 mana left thanks to their snow lands. But it is colorless, so Unless they've got an artifact here, they wouldn't be able to use it. Can still cast my commander. If I play Shaman first, I can, let's see, it's not a dragon, so it doesn't enable the Jasper. I'm gonna be 1 mana short of casting Ureni, so I'll just go for it now. Pick up the Dragonstorm, find a Goldspan Dragon. That's pretty good. And then now I could still play the Shaman. For 4 mana, they could have a sweeper that maybe deals 4 to all of my creatures, but then Ureni survives. Yeah, I think I'm okay running it out here. And yeah, opponent is on the land destruction plan. Not great when your opponent starts ramping on turn 1 already. And the Dragonstorm can find our remaining basics, don't have many left. But our opponent's facing a lot of damage as well. So if I Dragonstorm, I can still Glorybringer. And Ureni will find another dragon. And Hellkite, I guess, is a relevant disruption. Tapping the opponent's lane down. So our opponent's on 4 life. Access to 4 mana. I guess technically there are some ritual effects in red. The one that makes 7 mana, and you can cast another spell afterwards. That would kind of be their best case scenario. Or if they have their own Chrome Mox, they can also make an extra mana. So that into a board wipe could maybe still save them. No Blasphemous Act on Arena to worry about. But yeah, when this Chandra deck gets off to a quick start and starts doubling the land destruction, it can be pretty brutal. But it didn't quite work out for them this time around. Alright, looks like our opponent has disconnected. So we get one final attack in. So Ureni gets a chance to attack itself here. Opponent's got Ureni in their profile picture. And some nice options here as well. Alright, sweet. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, facing off against Kotis, who's gonna try and steal our spells. What do we think of our opener? I've got a little bit of ramp. Mox Jasper might take a second to make mana, so I think we can do better. This one's not really an improvement, missing red mana. This one I guess I'll keep. So we've got Servant, couple Sarkons to make mana, or discount our dragons. Probably ditch the Copper Dragon, at least opportunistic, and maybe steal an opposing mana artifact. Although then again, Ancient Copper plus Soul of Flame is kind of a combo. So we'll try this. So we'll get either a Triome or a red-green Surveil land. And then turn 2 could start with Dragon Ascendant. Opponent's got a mana creature. Okay. I think I do Surveil since I actively want to find another land. And I'm gonna say no to the 8-drop. Found the land. Sarkon reveal Copper Dragon. Next turn play Soul of Flame most likely. And then on the following turn I could maybe play the Ancient Copper Dragon and immediately hit the opponent, making more treasures. They might have some removal here. Alright, nothing. Maybe they were keeping up a counterspell. But now they tap out for Kotis, so I just need a land of the top. And we got there, so Ancient Copper Dragon. And hope to roll a high number. A 3, not the best hit. So could still play the Servant. I think I just keep my treasures for Ureni. And our opponent scoops it up. I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, facing Torens. Green-white, kind of go wide. And yeah, this hand's too slow. Needs some mana acceleration. This is all mana acceleration. But that's not necessarily a bad place to be when our commander essentially provides card advantage. And give her for protection. And yeah, I'm gonna want to play a creature out, so have to fetch, which means we waste a landfall. But I think that's still worth it. Can get a breeding pool or stomping ground, so we have double red for a shaman. So the next turn I can go Cobra, tap land, still play Mystic. Alright, now we've got a fetch land. That's a bit more exciting. So if I go Cobra, fetch land, I can play the Shaman, which maybe already sets up Ureni on the following turn. That's the highest upside play. I guess a good balance is going Banner plus Mystic, so that way if they have removal, at least we still developed our mana. And Mountain's fine. Name Dragon. Play Mystic. And yeah, next turn, if I play a land, get a landfall trigger, I should be able to cast my commander already. And now with the fetch land, I could even play the Shaman first. Alright, not bad. Let's see what we hit. Got some solid options. I like Dragonhawk or Dracosaur for card advantage. Let's go with Dragonhawk. Scales a bit better if we find more dragons. I guess to deal 4 damage right away. And with a discount from Dragon Speaker Shaman, it's not too difficult to cast multiple dragons on the same turn. So yeah, things are going about as well as they could be going. Opponents building up their own board with a Squire, which can pick up a lot of counters alongside Torens. They've got a Giver to protect from removal, or maybe attack past our blockers. And now a Voice of Victory as well. So the Squire's gonna try and hold off our dragons. And yeah, it can block Dragonhawk successfully. Still happy to attack with it, since we might be able to still get it back with Haven while finding more goodies. So first resolve Ureni, so then Dragonhawk can maybe find more stuff. And Tyrant's not bad, doubling our damage output. So now Dragonhawk still trades for the Squire, although I guess they can still use Giver to protect it. So then 16 damage to the face. Ooh, never mind. The Wandering Rescuer to the rescue. So I guess now Squire grows even more. Do they try and block Ureni then? They do. Although that's still 12 damage from Dragonhawk. And then every card in exile is +4 damage. So this is just lethal without me doing anything else. Can send it back to the command zone. And then... do we have enough mana to replay Ureni? We do. Find a Tower of the Peaks, because why not? And that's game. Awesome, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, facing Davriel, mono black, control. Our hand has lots of creatures that are likely to eat removal spells. I do like the Explore, and Rising of the Day should be decent. But I think we can do better overall. Even though Explore plus Cobra has a lot of potential with the fetch lanes especially. Alright, this seems a little bit better. So turn 1 can fetch the red-green Surveil land. Setting up maybe turn 2 Sarkhan. And look for another land. Regents is kind of like a land. If we use the treasure, it's not ideal, but it might be good enough. So then I'm definitely prioritizing Sarkhan over Nurture, which could just get removed, or Growth Spiral, which may not draw into a land. So reveal the Regents, which I'm likely to play next turn. Alright, and still hit a land drop as well. Does that change my play? I guess we'll just fetch for a... doesn't have to be forest, since we're going to find 2 of them. Maybe get another mountain. And then next turn Goldspan might be the move. And there's Davriel. So Goldspan lines up perfectly here. Get to finish off Davriel while still ramping. Invasion, I guess, could also do it. And now Incubator is also pretty interesting. So if I play the Incubator, I could still cast Goldspan afterwards. Small chance our opponent has some dragons that will benefit from the discount. So then I have to attack. Go after Davriel. Could also go face and use Invasion to finish off Davriel, but I think I'll hang on to the treasure. Could also play the Nurture if we want to play around an Edict effect. But then I'll be wasting a mana. So I think I'll just pass. Invoke Despair, so yeah, playing the Nurture could have maybe saved the Goldspan. But I can still cast Ureni, which looks good. If I play Dragon Speaker first, I guess I can still cast Ureni. That might be worth it. And what do we get? Another Ureni, although there's nothing to remove, versus Glorybringer. I guess the protection from black is useful, even though they might have some sweepers. So double Ureni for the low cost of 3 mana. But yeah, opponent's got the board wipe, sadly. Back to the command zone. So now 7 mana we cannot quite cast. Let's maybe Growth Spiral first, and then take it from there. So I can just invasion my opponents. Don't know if I want to cast the opportunistic dragon yet. I think I'll hang on to it, since they're likely to have some artifacts I can steal. Alright, and our opponent scoops it up. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, and it's the mirror match. So one way or another, Ureni is going to win. Urza's Incubator, one of the worst cards in the mirror match, since it also affects the opponent's creatures. So I'll take a mulligan. Still not an amazing hand, but I'll try it. And does our opponent have a turn 1 accelerant? Nope, just a surveil land. So we could do the same and maybe look for one of those mana creatures. Verdant, I'm gonna say no, we have plenty of lands already. And Heirloom I cannot Dragon's Fire. So then probably just go for the Triome in case I need double red for Shaman next turn. Opponent's got Soul of Flame. Might be worth taking out with Dragon's Fire, since we can deal 6 to it. The alternative is play Shaman, and then next turn I'm still a mana short of playing Ureni, but then I could cast the River Regent to reset their board. High upside, but also risky for opponents got something powerful to copy with Sarkhan. I think I still try it. Because then we could go Regent into Ureni on the following turn. If they have removal, then I still get to go Banner plus Dragon's Fire. And yeah, Dragonhawk pretty good here, since they get to immediately trigger and deal a bunch of damage. The Heirloom can also activate. Although at least they wouldn't be able to play anything else from exile. But yeah, we're at 12. So this Regent better stabilizes. Can still fetch if I'd like. Maybe hang on to Otawara. I think I still run it out. Can maybe save us some damage. Bound Sarkhan and Dragonhawk. Hit you for 2. So we've kind of stolen the initiative here. Can our opponents rebuild quickly? At the very least, we know they can play Dragonhawk. It's gonna be Sarkhan plus maybe a 4-mana dragon. Yep. Well, I cannot afford to sacrifice my land, so that's gonna be 2 damage. Sacrifice Cavern, no thanks. And then hope that Ureni delivers. Find an Earthquake Dragon versus Goldspan, which can still cast a Dragon's Fire. That's not bad. So then I think the plan would be get the Goldspan, attack, take out Sarkhan. 4, 5, 6, although they could still cast Ureni next turn anyways. But turning Sarkhan into an Ureni would give them even more dragons. So even though Earthquake is a very good blocker, maybe taking out Sarkhan's worth it. So then Shaman hangs back. And then before blockers, take out Sarkhan. see if they want to trade. They do. So our opponent's going to play their own Ureni. Banner pumping the team's going to be quite relevant, and wow, our opponent actually missed. And yeah, that's going to be good enough for a concession. So we get to see our Temur Dragons deck in action. And yeah, this deck is incredibly powerful once you get your commander down, especially if you can give your creature haste, so you get to immediately attack and generate 2 additional dragons. And with so many dragons in the deck, we're unlikely to ever miss with the ability. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.